Namaste and welcome to India. We're finally here for the much-awaited debut of the Indian Grand Prix. I'm Adam Wheeler and this week I'll be representing my colleagues Neil and David, who unfortunately can't be here. It'll be an interesting week ahead, a new experience for all of us in India, and we're super excited. Even more when I'm joined this week for a chat with none other than Miguel Oliveira and his crew chief Giovanni Mattarollo. Welcome both to the RNF Unlocked Podcast series. Miguel, first thing I have to ask you is, did you go and see the poor journalist that you wiped out in the cricket exhibition earlier by whacking the tennis ball into his head?
No, I didn't. It was okay, I guess. Yeah. Also, even if you create some kind of physical damage during a situation like that one specifically, with a lot of crowd around you, even if you hurt, you're still gonna walk the pain off, you know. So I think that's what he did.
It looked to me like you need to practice your technique a little bit more. I mean, the power was there, but the control wasn't.
None of any sport related to using a ball, either with your foot, your hand, or with the stick. I'm not good at it. Golfing, volleyball, just forget about it. I'm not good at any of those.
Giovanni, is Miguel's coordination sometimes a little bit off? I mean, you know,
No, I was listening what he said, but sincerely on the bike is really good, his coordination. I mean,
fortunately,
you can do more than one thing in the same time. It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Listen, guys, there's been some decent GPs of late. Catalunya, Misano, things are looking up. Miguel, for you especially, after such a torrid time at the beginning of the year, how's the feeling at the moment in the pit box?
I mean, for sure, it's a feeling that we want to do even better, which is nice, but considering from where we've started and what had happened in our way, for sure it's already quite great what we are achieving. Especially, I think one of the things which we should be really proud about is how we start the weekends and how we finish. The progression through the weekend, the evolution in my riding, it's clearly hitting the right direction. There are still a lot of things which I would have liked to have automatic in my riding to get the maximum out of the bike. But I have a lot of flexibility, so I can adjust. But so far, it's the last few races since Silverstone has been fortunately a good way of progression. Austria, we didn't finish both races, one due to the first turn incident, and the other one due to a technical issue. But anyway, we qualified 7th or 8th, I don't remember well, so we've been into Q2 the hard way, but we've been there. So I guess the speed and the consistency of the results is there, so we'll see what happens.
Giovanni, from your view in the pit box, it must be nice to finally get some momentum going, because like we said, you know, the start of the year was challenging.
Yeah, for sure, it's not simple it is important to consider that it's the first time of Miguel in this bike, and for the previous 4 years he rode a quite different bike, still a MotoGP, but was really different. And considering that he missed most of the first part of the season, because we need to consider that Mugello, Sachsenring and Assen, he was still injured. And we saw that on the data, how he ride the bike, he was riding with only one arm. And for sure, improved the feeling with the bike, and also the riding style is not at the best condition. If we consider that, and looking, as you said, at the second part of the season from Silverstone to now, I think that the progression that we are doing and how Miguel is adapting of the bike is really, really good. This is why I said before that he's able to do more than one thing in the same time. Because it's not simple on this level, with the speed that these guys are carrying on, to change your riding style and still stay on the limit and try to move the limit forward and forward. And for me, this is the most important thing to think about, which is our target, and that we have the possibility to arrive to that.
I mean, your cricket skills were not impressive, but I was impressed to see you going for a run around this new circuit, Bud International Circuit yesterday, because the heat here is it feels more intense somehow than Sepang or Thailand. It's certainly similar.
I was expecting a bit worse, to be honest, but the heat is you can manage somehow. But let's see on the bike, because once we stop in the garage, for sure all the heat will come and you'll try to refresh. But it's so far it feels hot for sure. But
that was one way for you to see the track and to feel it a little bit. But do you guys usually have a sit down and talk about the next Grand Prix anyway, even if if it's a place that you know incredibly well?
Yeah. No, we do it every week. Let's say we could call it the briefing on the next GP. We do share some ideas of what we want to do with the setting of the bike, some interesting things I could have seen on the videos from the last years and so on. My feeling on last year's bike, what worked there, what did not work, stuff like that. So we take some impressions, and that's what we take into account preparing a Grand Prix.
So Giovanni, from your side, how do you prepare for a completely new place? There's no records, there's no data, there's nothing to really go on.
Yeah, this is, I think, the first time that we come in a new circuit without any test before. Because last year in Chang'e we did a test before, and also in Portimao the same. This time...
in Indonesia,
sorry, Indonesia.
Mandalika.
Sorry, Lombok. And for sure the factory helped us with some simulation, some information, some data, just to try to put everything together to have a base to start. And for sure, we talk a lot during the track walk, but also checking the tires that we had, the shape of the track, comparing with other kind of circuit. For example, the length of the straight of this circuit compared to which is the closest one, and something like that. And yes, this time maybe we talk more than in other times about which are the ideas and which is the plan, especially for the first day, just to try to understand how to use the time, not to do quantity, but quality. Just due to the condition, the temperature, I need to save the rider because I need him every time as much ready and fit as possible. But in the same time, we need to understand where are we going and how we need to improve the bike.
One of the talking points from this circuit is the long straight. It's one of the longer ones we have on the calendar. Miguel, both you as a rider and Giovanni as a technician, do you think it's going to be some pretty impressive speeds by the time of the end of the, are we talking kind of Mugello, maybe Austin kind of levels?
Well, from my perspective, we will not see incredible speeds. For sure, we're still gonna be going fast, but I don't expect it so high. Not more than Austin, let's say, or very similar, because we start from a very slow corner. We do have a massive straight and time to gain speed, but we also need to brake to a super slow corner next. So I don't think it's gonna be that much of a speed record like we see in Mugello. Mugello, we do a third gear corner before we go to the straight, so that's fast.
Like gearing, electronics, Giovanni, is there going to be some basic stuff to get ready during FP1 tomorrow?
We know that especially first part of FP1 will be dedicated to understand especially the electronic side. For the gear, we have a base that is acceptable to start, and for sure we will need to adjust a bit. But the most important thing is first that he start to understand where he need to put the wheels in the truck, and in the same time the electronic side. From that point on, we start to work on the rest of the bike.
It might be a small coincidence, Miguel, but the last two tracks that we've had that have been brand new for everybody, you've had pretty amazing results. Is that just, like I say, is that a coincidence, or are you a very fast adapter?
I think it's just a coincidence. Portimao was a new track for all of us, but not so much for me because I knew the place before. In either case, we all arrived there with our bikes for the first time without having ridden the track before. We did a test in October, which was the month before we went to the GP. So we all kind of knew the track more or less. On that regard, I don't think knowing or not knowing the track is a big advantage or disadvantage, because we all know that we can learn the track quite easily. To get the maximum out of the bike and the track, I think might take different times for all of us. But yeah, that's it. Then Mandalika was fast, but still, on a wet race, things got a little bit unusual. Yeah. So yeah, the rest, I see it as a funny, positive coincidence that for sure gives me extra boost to do well in the new track. Yeah.
Just to move on to another subject in the podcast, the crew chief and the rider relationship. When did you two guys meet? When did you sort of first start to build a bit of a friendship and working kind of relationship, I guess?
Well, working in Valencia 2022, so that was the winter test. First time I went into work with the Aprilia. Mm-hmm. Before we met in person around Misano time last year, where I jumped on the bike and I took some first impressions on the ergonomics of it. But that's really it. After we didn't spoke much, because obviously he was focused on his role with this rider, and I was focused on my role in my previous team. So we start talking a bit more after the race finished in Valencia, and that was it. We built up some relationships since then, but it's the work in the track that gets us to know each other more. It's not the phone, not the text messages, not the emails. It's more the work environment. Yeah.
Giovanni, from your side, what did you think about Miguel coming into the team and working with him? Did you think, oh, here's a guy with a bit of a dry sense of humour, clearly intelligent about his job? Or what was your preconception and then the reality?
No, I knew from other people that worked with him in the past that was a really good guy to work with. And I knew that, but I was curious to understand why and if it was true or not.
Are we doing another podcast after when he's not here and you tell me the truth?
Yes, please. No, but sincerely, yes, the first impression, I had always a good impression about him. The first time in Valencia, because Misano was just sit on the bike, check the position, just to know in Valencia we had only one day, just save time and have an idea of what he needed. And then you know that when you start to ride, everything changes. Just have base. Now, the first impression was for sure good, but was, as is normal, he knows no one in the team, also me. He doesn't know me. It was quite just measuring everything, every people, every movement, every kind of thing. And I think that was the right way to start. If you arrive and you start to speak with all, be funny and so on, it's quite strange. It was really professional. This is the right word.
We were talking about your adaptation to circuits, but really through your career you have to adapt to environments and different groups of people, some from different nationalities. I mean, that's a skill in itself, isn't it, Miguel, to make everyone believe in what you can do and what you say, what feedback you have for the direction of the project. I mean, that's quite a responsibility.
Yeah, I think I always took it as a natural thing in my career. You really need to be flexible, as I mentioned before. Have the flexibility to be around people, different people, and to meet halfway somehow. I know I have a character and Giovanni has a character, but I believe if I'm a little bit more flexible, I can meet him halfway on what he needs from me and what I need from him. And I think that's the key in every relationship, professional relationship, is that you kind of understand what to give away. Sometimes it's good to prefer some peace of mind rather than being right on some subject, And that's this give and take that you need to be good at. Leading a team, having a team relying on your result to be motivated, but also sometimes to have the good environment to, you're having doubts, but you can do it, like last weekend in Misano, to build this kind of environment that have many doubts in my head if I would able to do the race the right way or not, and have the group behind me pushing me in the right direction. That's also I think what this flexibility helps you to have.
I mean, Giovanni, it's a strange relationship, isn't it? Because the crew chief and the rider, it's something that has to work quite quickly, and it's something where you both have to have a lot of mutual trust pretty much straight away without necessarily having a lot of history or, a bond. It's a kind of a skill in itself, isn't it, to make that relationship work?
Yeah, I think that for sure you need to have some skills to make a relationship work. But in the same time, me and him knows that we need to find a way to take out our best from my job and from his job. And the best way is to talk, and many times I asked to him, do you have something more to tell me, or do you have something to ask? I see you that you are thinking about what, please tell me. Just because I need to know, and we need to know each other, for sure. Race by race, we are growing this kind of relationship just to be faster, to adjust the bike. At the beginning we needed 3 days, then 2 days, then just when we start we know which is our skills, which is his necessity on the bike, and we try to do it as soon as possible, just to give to him a base and just to give to him the confidence to work good on the bike just from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it also, the job is a bit complex because you have a bike that more or less works and you can get to a certain level and be amongst everyone. But then either the rider needs a specific feedback from the bike, or the bike needs to physically do something better, which is not doing. So that's where we need to understand and have a cold mind to really put things in perspective and understand what you really need or what the bike really needs to do, So that's where the crew chief needs to be good at, to get a real necessity of the bike, or to get something from the bike to please the rider, so he can trust more the bike to go faster. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's no magical settings now. You cannot make a bike go 1.5 seconds faster, but you can definitely help the rider to have the confidence, have a certain feeling to actually go and do something with the bike. There are some times where the bike physically doesn't perform as we wish, or has it needs to do to fight for a podium or for a top 5, whatever result. Yeah.
Can you give me an example, guys? Can you remember some case recently where you thought, okay, we've unlocked that, or we've managed to?
We can go to Portimao. Maybe it's already the first case.
From Friday to Saturday.
From Friday to Saturday, it's we did some changes on the bike, but they were small. But I was able to go
really fast.
Yes, more than a second faster than I've been doing in the test and the day before.
Yeah, that was a situation where your comment was on the corner exit, but checking together the data and going deeper to his comment and his feeling, we understood that was more the corner entry. We adjust the bike, we also using the experience on the test that we did, and we were on the beginning on our work together. We did an interesting step.
Yeah. Was that a case where you think, I know where I need to be better, but then someone shows you actually
it's the opposite? Yeah.
Oh, but it was true that he missed on that point, but was the consequence of another
something
situation.
Else. Yeah.
But I mean, you're referencing the first moments of the season. Is it fair to say that you guys not only still getting to know each other, but also the technical package? It was a big change for you, especially Miguel, this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting my head around it. Don't get me wrong. But back then, I knew exactly how I needed to ride, but I just couldn't. First day, especially, I was a bit nervous, and I had a little bit of a big crash together with Paul. So it was a spectacular crash that didn't went on the camera, but we have it on the Aprilia cameras. We have it. It was a monumental high side on entry, and I was really lucky not to get hurt.
Absolutely.
So it's, people probably don't know this, but it was a really, really big crash for me. It was a really big crash. So every part of my body hurt the next day, but we managed to go through first in Q1, and then fourth on the grid in Q2. So it was quite a day, and I was running for the first sprint podium ever, and I ran wide in the last lap. So finished
3 corners
7th.
to the end.
Yeah. But still now, like last weekend, from Friday to Saturday, make a major step on riding. But also the steps we do on the bike, they are steps to help me gain more confidence to do something which I'm not doing. It's not something wrong with the bike, and that's something we find out this year, is that the bike is once we found a base, the bike is very similar to work in every track. So that's up to us then to adjust which way we want to go, more or less.
When you were speaking about the crash, there's one small phenomenon I'd like to ask you two about. This idea that a rider crashes and takes the second bike, but somehow it doesn't feel the same as the first one. Is this just a mental thing, or does each machine have its own kind of character in a way? I mean, I look at you, Giovanni, because I know you're preparing something that is essentially identical. But then, Miguel, maybe you kind of think, well, that bike was working better.
No, look, from my side, it's absolutely the same. That's something I took out of my mind early days in the MotoGP class, was that I jump on one bike, I jump on the other, and it will be the same, because if both have the same setting, then it doesn't matter. I am not superstitious in anything on that regard, and the bikes actually feel the same. It's millimetric, but sometimes the lever position or the angle of the handlebar, whatever, feels a little bit off, but perfectly in line with what we ride before. So it's exactly the same.
Yeah, there is sometimes that maybe there's a crash, you jump on the other bike, and there's a different setting, because maybe we are working just to, we have the base, we have the setting with the modifiers from the comments and the data, and maybe it happens that he crashes and you need to jump or on the bike of the previous session, or with the new setting, but we have no comparison, or just with different tires, because we need to manage the tires during the weekend. It is not sure that I can provide to him the same type of tire for the spare bike, because was in plan to do a kind of work, and the crash changed the situation. But every time, before every session, he knows which is the plan with the tires, and which are the backup tires. Means that he knows that if something happens, this will be the tires, just to be ready in any case.
Yeah. I mean, the weekend that Miguel referenced, I was still think that one of the most incredible things about MotoGP races is the ability to pick themselves off the floor and then set a similar crazy lap time within minutes. I mean, that kind of level of performance from a sportsman is quite freaky. How do you see it from your side?
No, I can tell you, many times things like that appears normal to us. But you need to stop and say, what are they doing? Because it's something that is not human from my point of view. But is why they are the best rider in the world.
Guys, we're just going to finish with a couple of general views and what's going on in the championship at the moment. I mean, Miguel, we're here in India, but it still seems there's quite a lot of decent local media presence, but they all kind of want to know about like Marc Marquez and what he's doing, where he's going to be riding. I just wondered, you guys are in the paddock, you hear people talk, you hear rumours, you have your own opinions on this sport. I mean, what do you think about the changes that have gone on, and what do you think someone like Marquez should do? Should he be staying with Honda or getting on a different bike?
Look, I could never walk his shoes. He has had so many success, so many hardship moments in the last few years. Literally, I could not make a decision. This is something only him can do, and the people around him create the right environment for him to make a decision. It's true that for a rider, once you no longer work in an environment where you see passion in people, that you don't see a will to do better, it's hard for you to get motivated and to go out there after you just crashed and give it 100% again. So I would not blame him if he wants to break out of a contract mid-season and go do something else. But it's really something I cannot really advise him what he should or should not do. Some people might think that money could make him stay and really push through, but I think at this moment in his career, money is not really coming to the equation for him somehow. Doesn't fulfill him as a person, so I don't know.
Giovanni Rins to Yamaha, Morbidelli to Ducati. I mean, there's some interesting movements around. I mean, you have a rider that came from another team and manufacturer as well this year, so you can appreciate maybe some of the changes and how interesting those can be.
Yeah, changes are always interesting, are something that makes you in the condition to improve. Just also if our other riders that are moving means that the condition is changing. Someone could be faster, someone could be slower. But the point is that everything happening around us is something that doesn't create any problem to us. In any case, our target is to be the faster. This is our target, and we know that we can achieve that. For the other riders, it's interesting for them.
8 races in 10 weeks. We know it's not going to be easy. We know it's a little bit crazy. But is it also something that's going to pass really quickly, do you think?
No, look, I like the rhythm, I think it's nice. But also we've come from many races, so it's not easy for sure. But I'm looking forward, to be honest. Really different scenario. We had a similar scenario during COVID, and didn't work bad, so I think could be cool. Could be cool to understand.
For you, Giovanni, also having all the guys around you and everything that comes with having to move the boxes around.
Yeah, there will be for sure. Will be difficult to take a breath between one race and the other. We will take the breath when we come home. Means 2 times in 8 races.
Yes.
But for sure, the relationship that we have, and also with the guys in the team, helps, because we find the time just to have some fun. Also during the day, with the guys that we have in the box, you can enjoy, and it's quite clear for all when it's time to be serious, professional work, and we can find the time just to keep a breath and. Make a smile and then carry on.
Yeah.
Miguel, I think you're building up some daddy credit. When you get back, you're going to have maybe some work to do.
Yeah, we all know how it works when we have kids at home. Once you get home after being a little while out, the wife hands you a list of things to do at home, the do-it-yourself thing at home. But
now you can sleep.
Yeah, now I can sleep.
Small positives.
Yeah, definitely. This is holiday comparing to go back home. Yeah. But yeah, somehow it's you feel something is missing. I have a huge privilege to be able to bring them to a couple of races in Europe, so I cannot complain in front of Giovanni or the rest of the guys, because they don't see them while they are at the races, so it's a bit harder. But you know, phones and video calls work quite well nowadays, so it's not that bad.
Lastly, guys, either for the track or for the place or the culture, which of the GPs coming up are you most looking forward to?
Phillip Island.
It's hard to choose. I really liked Indonesia, but yeah.
Now, for me, Phillip Island, just the track is really nice. I'm not a rider, but it's really nice. But also all the situation. You are not in an hotel. You are in the houses. You can spend the time with your colleagues. That someone becomes a friend because you spend a lot of time together. Just to have a dinner like be at home.
Yeah. And the barbecues,
these kind of things.
The dinners, yeah.
You build up the group, and also it's like it's more simple to take a breath.
It's a little bit scary to think that it's less than 1 month between Valencia and Christmas this year.
Yeah.
I mean, could be cold and dark at that final round.
Wow, look, Valencia is always a place where it can be tricky at the end of November. We never know. But we'll be ready for anything.
Yeah, you were fast in the test.
I was fast in the test. So let's see this season.
Well, listen, guys, that's all we have time for today. We're rooting for another great race from Miguel this week. So thank you all for tuning in to RF Unlocked. We'll have more episodes ahead. Don't forget to comment on topics that would interest you. See you next time.